All right, give him the big intro, because there he is already speaking.
He's been on the run, chasing cars and making magical music for decades. And thankfully, Snow Patrol are still on Signal Fire. Their new single, All, is out now. A new album, The Forest is the Path, is out this Friday. And the new tour starts in the new year. So let there be Gary Lightbody.
Yeah, come on. God, great to see you, man.
Good to see you, Chris.
Congratulations on the album. Had it on last night at home. Not on vinyl. We've had the vinyl chat. We can have it a bit more. But it's great. I mean, it seems it's landed fully formed. You do have a habit of that being the case. Where did it come from? How long did it take? You're of an age now that you weren't before. You got to be careful because writing about certain things can be a bit embarrassing. A bit sad dad, kind of. That kind of territory, those shark-infested woods. Speak to all that, Gary Lightbody.
Thanks very much. That's a,
you know what I mean, though, don't
that's
you?
a lot to cover, yeah. We had 2 cracks at this one.
Right.
The first one didn't take, but we did our very best, and then we sort of regrouped after that one, and went in with Fraser T. Smith, producer of Stormzy and Dave and Adele and lots of amazing artists, and we had it done in 5 weeks with him. It was just such a wonderful process.
What
really
was the difference between the 2 experiences, do you think, from a success point of view?
There's a real calmness and ease in Fraser that it just permeates. It's in every molecule in his studio. It really is. We just went in and felt like, we already had done. We'd written it. We had, we'd done a lot of prep. Johnny McDade had made some extraordinary original versions of most of the songs. So we had starting points for sure, more than starting points. But Fraser brought it all together, and it was a sweet 5 weeks. It really was.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because some producers can bring their technical ability, their musicianship to it. Other producers can't play a note. Like Rick Rubin famously can't play a note.
Fraser can play everything, and that's the other thing. You know what I mean? He was, he became, part of the. It was a 4-piece rather than a 3-piece.
But again, it's like, I've heard Rick Rubin talk a lot about producing, and then I've watched the Metallica documentary. It took 5 years to make the one album in particular.
Yeah.
And it was about the vibe in the studio. They had a peacemaker that they brought in just to keep the peace, and he was as instrumental, metaphorically, as anybody in the band. It's a strange thing, isn't it?
Yes, we didn't need a peacemaker. We were fine. There was peace. There was peace in the lab.
But it depends where it is, what time of day it is. You know, who's coming, who's going, what's going on in the world, what you listen to on the way to the studio.
Yes, I mean all that. By the way, that Metallica documentary, Some Kind of Monster, is one of the greatest rock documentaries of all time. It really is. They were very brave to put that out because it was really important. It's important. We must have watched that when it first came out on DVD about 20 times in a row. It became the new kind of thing for every musician to watch.
The mundanity, in their recording canteen. The canteen, it's so beige and so drab, and you think, is this what rock and roll has become?
Yes, that is what rock and roll is.
I know. And then you go to Lars, and he's taking his paintings to auction in the middle of it all. His mad paintings, his Basquiat's that he sells for $10 million in the middle of the documentary. And because it was a few years ago, you now know that's worth $50 million. He thought we'd rung the bell on the day, and it's crazy, eh?
Yeah, the incredible documentary. But but with us it was all the tough bits happened before we got in with Fraser, and then we sort of got all those out of the way.
What does that mean?
Just the first time recording,
right.
Sometimes every step you take in the studio, you get closer to finding the truth of it, sometimes every step you get further away. The first time round, we were getting further and further away.
It's so funny, isn't it? Because really successful writers, whether they're novelists or what's his name, Richard Curtis, he's minimum 25 drafts of a script, and if you read the first draft of a script of his, which I have been fortunate to do, you think, well, that's done. Well, not in his eyes. And by the way, he was 25 to get to the first one that he shows to anybody else. And they do say, don't the great writers say, if you write anything, it will be absolutely rubbish to start off with, and you just gets better and better and better. And do you think that's what people who fear creativity don't get? It's all rubbish to begin with, and it just gets better and better.
I mean, the last album we made called Wildness, I wrote 600 songs for that. and there's 10 on the album.
And why have you picked the wrong 10?
Yeah, maybe we did.
Oh my gosh. And when you say you wrote 600 songs, does that mean all the verses, all the choruses, all the chords? What does that mean?
There's verses, choruses on everything, and
lyrics.
Not lyrics on everything, but
Right.
like there's 600 song ideas for sure.
And because Bono famously, doesn't he? He famously pitches up and starts making up words to tunes that The Edge and Larry and Adam have already sort of fashioned in a way. What do you do?
Yeah, there's an awful lot of songs with me singing absolute gibberish over them. Some people would argue that, they end up on it as well.
Well, we don't want to talk to those people. By the way, I disagree wholeheartedly. It's great. What about the subject matter? So, what's the first song you ever wrote? What was it about?
The first song ever in my life?
Ever.
I don't know. I think it was probably, it would have been in the garage at home. I was 15, 14, something like that.
Peak
and it was,
teenager.
It was, I was listening to Nirvana. I was probably just copying something like that Kurt was talking about. That Kurt was singing about. I would probably be trying to copy that.
In a way.
Yeah.
All right. And as you get older, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you get a lot of soloists, I suppose, more than bands, because bands have each other to riff off. It's different. But there's a really famous, one of the greatest songwriters of all time, and I won't say his name out loud, and he had this real fallow period between the ages of 45 and 65 until he just fessed up and started to write what he was genuinely feeling, as opposed to trying to continue what he was writing as a young man, and it just started to get a bit embarrassing in the middle. Do you know what I mean? What about you and your age and your take on life and those kind of emotions and those, because you have a right, don't you, when you're teenager, early 20s, maybe 30s, you have a right to a passage that you can just report on, and that's sort of enough.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it, so maybe I'm in the blind spot.
Oh my God! No, you're not, because I've heard the album. Because that's what I thought. This isn't embarrassing.
That's not embarrassing. Oh, good. Well, that's good. We'll use that as a pull quote.
Yeah. I mean, it's all projection on my part, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I don't know, but it's the lyrics. I'd done more work on these lyrics than I'd done before Johnny and I started writing the record, and because Johnny and I started, and then like Johnny, Nathan, and I would write as well, obviously. But before we even went in for the first day, I was writing notes into my phone. I was writing notes on notepads, and I had so many lines for songs before I started. And this is after 30 years of writing songs. I'd actually done some preparation for the first time.
How's that? Isn't it interesting? I'm the same with the show. I've never sort of prepared for the show more than I do now, and I've never enjoyed it more as a result. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, like the first day, that panic that sets in when you stare at a blank page for any length of time. It's panic. It's abject panic. You're just sweating immediately, going, I'll never be able to write a song again. I was able to take a line from my notes and put it on that blank page, and it wasn't blank anymore, and the song just grew from there each time.
God bless notes.
I know, thank goodness for that.
Yeah, phones better or worse in the world of songwriting?
Well, I'll tell you two ways they're better. Notes are good, and also voice notes, because you've got an easy thing to record on.
When did you start doing voice notes? Because my wife, she started doing voice notes about 6 months ago, and that's all she ever does. And they existed a long time before that, but she's now hooked on voice notes.
Yeah, I if I have a melody idea and I don't record it, that's it. It's gone. I don't know where it is.
Right.
Whereas Nathan Connolly can have a melody idea in the middle of another song about a different song,
that's just rude,
and remember it like for 3 days later.
It's like Michael Schumacher, when he was like recording the fastest lap of the race, thinking about another race whilst he was doing the fastest lap of the race, and then the next race, and then what he's going to have for tea when he gets home, because it's called extra capacity.
Right. So I don't have that.
It's when you're in flow, if you take a neurogram of your brain, apparently the circuits light up, and when you get in flow, they go into this beautiful sort of cosmos-like congruous shape. And when it's not that you're on automatic, but you are completely in flow, and then you can zoom out, carry on being in flow, and have all this extra capacity to like wave to the other driver, or nod to the other guitar, or come up with the song while you're writing a song.
That would be, I tell you what, you wouldn't want to be waved at when you're being passed by someone in Formula 1, right?
Yeah.
Some guy's just waving at you.
He used to be like, you see ya. haven't you been faster than me? And you've only got one hand on the wheel. Notes are interesting. I did this thing the other day. So we were coming up with a band list for the festival next year, and we come up with this band list. And so Matt, who books the bands, I sent him the band list, and all I did was, instead of emailing, I just forwarded him my notes, right? And so what I do is I open a notes window, and I just carry on writing. I didn't realize they stay live. Do you know about this?
No.
So if you forward somebody a notes page from your iPhone, in my case, it stays live. So when you add to it, you're adding to it to everybody you've sent it to.
Right.
So if you're making notes about other stuff,
Yeah, you probably want to know that before you start.
he said, "You know your notes are live." I went, "What?" He went, "I'm getting all your new stuff this afternoon. None of it's to do what we do together." I went, "Ah!" I said, "How's it read?" He said, "You sound like quite a decent person, actually." I said, "Oh, in that case, I'll keep it." And then I started toying with the fact that maybe I'll pretend to send people things by mistake, leave them live, and then write really loads of stuff that makes me seem like a nice person. Anyway, right. So obviously, new album, new tour. Is that the way it works? Because we have got a new tour to talk about, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, usually, when there's another thing about how wonderful it was with working with Fraser was at the end of the recording process. Normally, we're like, okay, it's tour time. Let's get out of here.
Right.
And we were all thinking, oh, we don't want this to end. Right. We were kind of sad to leave the studio, so that's fairly unusual. But the tour starts next January. Yeah. At the moment, it's UK, Ireland, and Europe, but we're adding America, South America,
Yes, you
Asia,
are.
Australia.
Yes,
all
you
that.
are. UK and EU Arena tour so far, January and February 2025. Snowpatrol.com. What about this, Gal? Times of the year to tour, right? Mm-hmm. You've chosen January and February. Is that punchy? In one way, it's punchy because of the weather. People don't have much money after Christmas, but then there's not much to do. Do you think about those things, or do you just go, "This is when we want to do it"?
Well, we wanted to make the UK and Ireland the sort of priority because we're from here. So that seemed to be the very first place that we could tour. Was the very first time that we could tour was January, February.
And just get out there.
Yeah, we want to get it as soon as possible. So that was more the thinking that we had around it.
Have you? What is your take on the Oasis thing?
I don't know enough. I don't know enough about the.
Have you been asked a lot about this?
No. I was asked once about it yesterday, but there's a particular type of pricing that.
Forget all that.
I have no idea about it.
By the way, we've been all over that.
Yeah.
No, I'm just talking about the Oasis getting back together and.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about the heart of it.
That'd be good. I'm a massive fan. We actually. Played the V Festival when they did the first night but didn't do the second night, and we were bumped up to headliner that night, and thought we're going to be torn to pieces here because Oasis aren't there.
Oh my god! It
was actually really fun gig, but we played some Oasis songs at the end and everybody sung along, it was a very sad moment because I'm a huge Oasis fan and I'm hoping I'll get to see them live at some point.
So had the gig not gone so well, would you have gone with the Oasis covers at the end? Or was it going so well you said, we know a few?
Well, it went really well, but yeah, we were going with them either way.
See, I might have started with those because I'm a coward. Hi, yeah, we are Snow Patrol. We've so many albums, and here's Wonderwall. We're going to start with Wonderwall. Yeah, but good, man. That's so good. When you heard, what's your take on them? Were they always going to get back together? Was it a question of time? Nothing's inevitable, I don't suppose. Nothing's a done deal. Tell us about that. Did it make you smile?
Yeah, it did. I'm always glad when not only a band gets back together, but maybe a rift is healed. I'm all for that.
Yeah. It's cool, man. Great bands that you've seen and you've enjoyed live.
The first two gigs I ever saw, the first one was Red Hot Chili Peppers at the Ulster Hall.
What?
And Rollins Band supporting.
Hang on a minute, the first live gig you ever saw?
The first gig I went to, I was 15 years old, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Ulster Hall. Second gig I went to with Nirvana, King's Hall, Belfast in 1992.
Now, we've done first gigs. We've never done first two. You've just won that. There's no +44 33300 Can you beat Gary Lightbody's first ever?
First two gigs.
First paid gig. Right, okay. First gig you paid to go and see.
Oh, yeah.
The first gig, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Where again?
And the Ulster Hall in Belfast.
And second Nirvana where?
King's Hall, Belfast.
Oh, my God. Third?
Third,
Peters
I can't remember. I think everything kind of that was kind of, they blew everybody else out of the water for a while.
Oh my
I think
God.
that because people didn't come to Belfast
God.
very often in those days. So when Red Hot Chili Peppers and Nirvana came,
That'd do it.
That's it. You know, like we're living forever.
Can we? Because I was very, very lucky to go and see. I was very lucky to go and see Led Zepp at the O2 when they played the one-off gig. Do you remember a few years ago?
Yeah.
Were you there that night?
No, I wasn't there.
And we all thought, well, it's not a one-off, can't be, because it took so much time to prepare. I was sitting next to Paul McGuinness, U2's manager at the time, and he said to me, there's no way this is a one-off. And he knows his onions. And anyway, it was a one-off. They didn't do two. And then 3 weeks later, I went to see AC/DC, and I thought Led Zepp was the best gig of my life. And then AC/DC, you know, who am I to say this, but they were a bit better than Led Zepp, who were off the chain. Can I ask you for, it's a world title fight. It's Red Hot Chili Peppers. That night, you went to see them. Against Nirvana, that night you went to see them. Who wins?
Of deep fondness for Red Hot Chili Peppers, but Nirvana wins. That Nirvana gig changed my life. It did. It made me want to. It's probably the reason why I'm sitting here today.
So Red Hot Chili Peppers wouldn't have done it.
They were amazing that night. Andy Kiedis did like a 5-minute handstand while Flea did a bass solo. I mean, there was moments in that gig that I'll never forget.
Naked usually.
Perhaps. But
they played more naked than they did with their clothes on.
But Nirvana was the most sort of formative experience of my.
What was it like? I never saw Nirvana. What was it like?
It was chaotic. There was a lot of moshing and there was elbows flying around the place, but it was a lot of fun.
So there's as much going on in the audience as there was on stage.
Yeah, there was, and it was just frenetic.
And what was the performance like?
It was good. I've listened to it since, so you can find it online. I've listened to it since, and they were brilliant.
All right, so we're just going to surgically remove them from the scenario. One other gig from your life that you've witnessed as opposed to performed.
We played with U2 a bunch of times, and they played in we did their show in Poland, and the whole crowd, and in a moment during the gig, formed. They all had pieces of card, either white or red, and they formed a Polish flag. The whole crowd in the moment, and there was just grown men everywhere around, just crying their eyes out.
Oh my God.
Including me.
Moment of release.
It was unbelievable.
You're not Polish though, are you?
No, but it was just a moment. It was just a moment that you just get absolutely caught up with everybody. Like, it just felt like this singular moment in time that you were privy to.
Which song was it? Were they singing? Was they singing one?
Yeah, no, it was the one that was about Poland, whose names escaped me. Was it New Year's Day?
Yes,
I think it was New Year's Day.
Yeah, it would be New Year's Day.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and your most memorable Snow Patrol gig? Is that possible? There's an
Ward Park. The park in Bangor, where in the town that I grew up in and still live in. We played some shows there, and Ward Park 2 was the biggest show in Northern Irish history. And
how many people?
42,000 people, and it was unbelievable. And all 3 gigs in Ward Park, we've done the trilogy now, but that second one was something else.
And you still, I mean, the more you do something, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the better you get at it still, I suppose, because of that extra capacity. Going into next year, how different is it? How more assured are you? How do you have to reintroduce a punk element into it to make yourself uncomfortable enough to be present? You know, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's a really good question, because, you know, as the tour progresses, you can just lose track of what you're really there for sometimes, because, you know, you're playing every night.
Yeah.
And it's important to kind of like get yourself centered and grounded.
Yeah.
And during a gig as well. And I always try to
so grind out the grounding.
Grind.
It is though, isn't it? Because grounding is, you know, foundational and firm and concrete and sure and stable, but you need to have the grind. Otherwise it's boring.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it so much. When you said that's a really good question, does that mean my other questions were rubbish?
That's the sort of thing I ask myself as well.
It's cool, isn't it? I like the fact I asked myself that question. I thought, oh no, this is really perfunctory up until that point. And it's funny because it's ironic because I'm asking about punking it up, and he's thinking we should punk this interview up because at the moment it's really dull. You don't think that, do you?
No, I don't.
Please, do you like me?
I always have amazing time when I come on the show.
Please, Gary, just like me. Amy from Piddington says a new Snow Patrol song just in time for the Gavin and Stacey finale. Come on. Has Corden been on the phone?
No, not yet, no.
Not yet.
No, well, sorry, that sounded very...
like, not to me, but, there's been calls anyway.
Yeah,
Good.
no.
Gary, anything else you'd like to say? The Forest is the Path. It's out on Friday. I've heard it. It's great. I can't wait for the vinyl. We were talking about vinyl before, weren't we?
Yeah, we were.
Vinyl, it is different. Vinyl is more representative, I think, of the performance in the studio, on the stage. What says you?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's something really special about it. Also something to hold and open and look at, and all that, what I used to do, and I'm sure you the same. You get the CD or the vinyl and you open it up and you find out who the third saxophone player was on track 5. You know what I mean? It's that sort of stuff is kind of an in-depth study, which you don't get as much.
More the unfolding of the cardboard with the vinyl than the unfolding of the plastic with the CD. Because the first thing I used to do with every single CD, first of all, it's harder to get the cellophane off, and you hurt your finger nail. And then two reasons as a bloke to grow your thumbnail is A, to put the guitar, B, to open the CD cellophane. And when you open the CD, the first thing you would hear me say like, "Oh, it snapped again," because the hinges always snapped on the CDs.
Yep, but it's. The vinyl itself is just the best sounding kind of version of anything, really.
It's so visceral. It really does get into you, doesn't it? It speaks to you from a deeper place, and therefore you hear it in a deeper place, I think. No ears required. Just a good solar plexus. Oh, shut up now, shut up. Glazing over again. Oh, sorry, Gary. This is why he comes in once every 18 months. It's all he can stand. It's the opposite of therapy. It's like watching a soap opera. He comes to see me every 18 months and think, well, at least I'm not that sad.
Not a bit of it.
Gary, anything else you'd like to get out there? Please feel free.
No, I just thank you for so many years of support for us and for your enthusiasm.
I love you. I genuinely love you. I love you as a human being. I think you're brilliant. Album The Forest is the Path out this Friday. Single all out now. UK and EU arena tours, European arena tours. Sharing you in February. Snowpatrol.com. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Cool.
Virgin Radio.